When you're younger, you believe time will fix everything. You believe energy will return on its own. You believe discomfort is temporary. You believe you'll take care of it later. I believe that too. I'm 60 years old now, and what I'm about to share took me more than 3 decades to truly understand. Not because the information didn't exist, but because I wasn't ready to hear it. At the time, I thought I was doing everything right. Natural solutions, healthy trends, what everyone around me called smart choices. And yet, quietly, year after year, my body was paying the price. The most dangerous mistakes aren't the obvious ones. They're the ones that feel responsible, the ones that feel modern, the ones that everyone else is also doing. Today, I want to walk you through 7 of those mistakes. Not to scare you, not to impress you, but because if even one of them sounds familiar, you might be standing exactly where I once stood, years before the consequences fully showed up. And that's where real prevention begins. For a long time, I believed health came in bottles. The more tired I felt, the more I added. The more symptoms I had, the more I searched. At one point, my daily routine included dozens upon dozens of supplements, vitamins, minerals, powders, pills I couldn't even pronounce. I wasn't trying to be extreme. I was trying to be careful. I wanted something natural, something harmless. What I didn't understand back then was a simple truth. Supplements don't replace a broken foundation. They only work when the body already has what it needs to function. My diet lacked real structure. I was missing the building blocks, especially protein and fats. Instead of repairing my body, I was flooding it with inputs it couldn't properly use. And the fatigue, the insomnia, the joint pain, they weren't signs I needed more supplements. They were signs my body was asking for something simpler. There's something very seductive about the idea of detoxing, the promise of cleansing, of starting fresh, of flushing problems away. I chased that promise for years. Juice cleanses, herbal protocols, extreme resets. What no one told me is that the body already has a detox system, and disrupting it can do more harm than good. Instead of healing, I was exhausting my system, stripping minerals, stressing digestion, triggering immune reactions I didn't understand. Each cleanse felt like progress, until I crashed afterward. Looking back, the damage wasn't immediate. It was cumulative. Health doesn't come from dramatic resets. It comes from consistency the body can tolerate. This might be the most common mistake of all. I told myself I'd eat better later. After graduation, after things calmed down, after life became less busy, later never comes. Years pass fueled by carbohydrates, caffeine, and convenience. I thought fatigue was normal, brain fog was normal, crashing midday was normal. It wasn't. It was blood sugar instability. It was poor metabolic support. If I had understood earlier how much food quality affects mental clarity, energy, and mood, everything would have been different. Health doesn't punish you immediately for neglect. It sends invoices slowly. Pain has a way of lying to us. I chased pain relief without asking why the pain existed. Therapies, adjustments, temporary fixes. What I didn't know was that some pain is referred. It comes from somewhere else entirely. In my case, what felt like a shoulder problem was actually internal imbalance. The body speaks in patterns, but we often only listen to the loudest signal. True healing starts when we stop asking, "Where does it hurt?" and start asking what's behind it. I underestimated how often eating affects the body. Snacking felt harmless. Frequent meals felt safe. But constant eating keeps the body in a perpetual storage mode. When I finally reduced meal frequency, something surprising happened. My energy stabilized. My inflammation dropped. My face changed. My hunger normalized. The body isn't designed to be fed constantly. It's designed to adapt, and sometimes less input creates more balance. There's a strange moment that happens as we get older. The body doesn't scream anymore. It whispers. And that's what makes this mistake so dangerous. For years, I thought my body was simply wearing out. The cramps at night, the stiffness in the morning, the exhaustion that didn't go away, even after sleep, the restless mind that refused to shut off when the lights went out. I told myself the same lie many people over 60 tell themselves. This is just aging. But it wasn't. What was really happening was much quieter and much more serious. My body was running without key minerals it needed to function, repair, and calm itself down. Magnesium deficiency doesn't arrive with drama. It arrives with tension, with muscles that don't relax, with nerves that feel constantly on edge, with sleep that never feels deep enough. And the worst part, you don't connect the dots. You think your legs cramp because you walk too much. You think your heart races because you're stressed. You think your mind won't rest because you're just a worrier. Meanwhile, your cells are begging for balance. I learned this the hard way, through pain that came and went, through kidney stones that felt like punishment, through years of fatigue that made no sense on paper. And looking back, I can say this with absolute certainty. This wasn't about getting older. It was about being depleted. Modern life quietly strips the body of what it needs. Filtered water, processed food, constant stress, and then convinces you that the consequences are normal. They're not. The real change didn't happen overnight. There was no miracle moment. What happened was something much more powerful. I finally stopped fighting my body and started listening to it. Instead of chasing the next trend, the next supplement, the next hack, I simplified. I paid attention to how I felt after eating. I noticed what calmed my body and what kept it inflamed. I stopped flooding my system with constant input and gave it space to recover. That's when everything began to shift. Sleep became deeper, muscles softened instead of tightening, energy stopped coming in spikes and started arriving steadily. And here's the part most people miss. It wasn't about doing more. It was about doing less, but doing it consistently. A simpler routine, fewer meals, more real food, enough minerals to allow the nervous system to exhale. This is where people over 60 often get it wrong. They think improvement requires intensity. It doesn't. It requires alignment. When the body finally gets what it's been missing, it doesn't need motivation. It heals naturally. And that's when aging stops feeling like a downhill slope and starts feeling like a slower, steadier road. If I could sit across from my younger self, or from you, this is what I would say. Stop waiting for things to get worse before you change. Most of the damage doesn't happen during the crisis. It happens quietly in the years before, in the habits you repeat every day, in the signals you ignore, in the belief that discomfort is just part of life now. Aging isn't the enemy, neglect is. Your body is not fragile, it's adaptive, but it needs the right conditions. The earlier you create those conditions, the longer you preserve strength, clarity, and independence. And here's the most important truth of all. It's never too late to start listening. Not with fear, not with guilt, but with respect. Because the body that carried you this far isn't broken. It's just been waiting for you to notice.